Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Energy. It concerns the future of natural gas, which this government seems intent to eliminate. My question is this: why isn't the minister speaking up for affordable energy? And whose side is he taking? Is it the Minister of Economic Development who wrote, "My ministry heard of the importance of natural gas. In particular, we heard that remote communities face large expansion costs due to access the resource"? Or is it the Minister of the Environment who said home heating is the future? In the future is going to have to come from sources other than natural gas.
Thank you. Minister of Energy.
Speaker, I'm happy to speak to the member, particularly in view of the fact that he has rural constituents, Mr. Speaker. He will know that we have taken some very significant steps to mitigate, Mr. Speaker, the costs in the rural areas. We do that, Mr. Speaker, by having a policy of expanding natural gas into rural communities. We're doing it through the Ontario Energy Board, Speaker. We've changed the regulations to allow a longer period of time, Mr. Speaker, to recoup the capital. We have the loan program for rural natural gas expansion. We have a loan program and a grant program for rural areas, Mr. Speaker, and we are taking all kinds of steps. Hydro One, Mr. Speaker, has a new program for heat pumps, Mr. Speaker, which can be installed in rural residences that will take between $800 and $1,500 off their electricity bills every year. We are working for the rural community when it comes to prices of electricity, Mr. Speaker.
Quit working so hard. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, back in February, I wrote to the government about the need for natural gas access in Milverton, which I represent. I've seen responses from the Premier, the Minister of Economic Development, and the OEB, but not the Minister of Energy. Now we know the Liberals are planning a $7 billion climate plan, which threatens to throw up new barriers to natural gas in rural Ontario. Unbelievably, it proposes to ban natural gas from all homes and small buildings built in 2030 or later.
Order.
It's yet another Liberal policy dreamed up with zero thought to rural Ontario. Will the minister stand with the people of Perth East and support the township's position on natural gas, or will he stand with his out-of-control colleague, the Minister of the Environment?
Seated, please. Seated, please. And I was trying to listen to the question when the member from Renfrew took me off my listening.
Speaker, I would invite the member to inform himself as to what's happening at the Ontario Energy Board, Mr. Speaker. He may not be aware of the fact that Union Gas has an application before the Ontario Energy Board. The hearings are in process, Mr. Speaker, to expand natural gas to 5 rural communities, Mr. Speaker. And Union Gas is also working with 18 or 19 other rural communities, Mr. Speaker, to make similar applications before rural communities. They don't want to admit, Mr. Speaker, in the Conservative Party, that we are paying attention to rural customers. We're taking steps to mitigate their rates, Mr. Speaker, and we'll continue to do so.